Hello and welcome back to yet another video on the Alejandro Hernandez podcast. These are going to be my official top 10 teams in the NFL after week 13. There's going to be three new teams in this week's top 10. There was a huge shakeup, obviously, around the entire NFL. Teams like the Ravens, the Steelers, the Chiefs, even the Eagles have all kind of fallen off. And right now, we're entering week 14. We're getting a more clearer picture of what this league is about. Who are the real contenders? Who are the pretenders? Pretenders such as teams like the Colts, who at the beginning of the season we were all questioning whether they were legit or not, and the Colts proved us that they might not be legit because everyone was talking about them as potential AFC contenders. Now they don't even lead their own division. Now Jacksonville's in first place in the AFC South. And then you look on the NFC side, we were all questioning, I was questioning whether the Bears were either pretenders or contenders. Initially, my initial suspicion was that they were pretenders. Then they go into Philly and win in dominant fashion. So that obviously declares them as contenders. So now there's going to be a huge shakeup in my top 10 this week. There are going to be three teams out, and those teams are going to be the Ravens, the Colts, and I believe the Lions. And then the teams that are going to be in are the Dallas Cowboys, the Chicago Bears, and the Green Bay Packers. So with all that being said, let's get into my top 10. Coming in at my number 10 spot, I'm going to have the 6-6 Kansas City Chiefs. And here's why. I believe they're very capable of running the table. You look at their next 5 games, well, their remaining 5 games. They play the Chargers, the Texans, the Raiders, Titans, and Broncos. Those 3 most important games against the Broncos, Chargers, and Texans, they are all at home at Arrowhead Stadium. The Chiefs statistically have been a way better home team than a road team. They have only lost 1 game at home this season, that was to Philadelphia, and they've lost 5 games on the road. So the Chiefs have been noticeably better at home than on the road. And when you look at those remaining 5 matchups, the 3 most important ones against the Texans, the Chargers, and the Broncos, they are all at Arrowhead Stadium. So that automatically gives the Chiefs an advantage. I believe they are capable of winning all 3 of those games, and then those other 2 games are layups against the Titans and Raiders. So I believe the Chiefs have a very, very good chance at running the table this year and finishing 11-6, which would mean that they make the playoffs. So I am not going to eliminate the Chiefs just yet. I'm going to remain hopeful. Obviously, right now, all the cards are stacked against them. They're playing the best defense in all of football without 3 starting offensive linemen, and I'm going to remain faithful in Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid to develop a game plan, a quick passing game to decipher that Texans defense and pull out the win at home and improve to 7-6, and they are going to ride that momentum the rest of the season, and I believe the Chiefs will make the playoffs. So no, for those of you wondering, I am not jumping off the Chiefs bandwagon just yet, and I'd hate to be that guy that says the Chiefs are done, they're cooked, all hope is lost, and then for them to turn it around and right the ship once and for all. So I'm going to stay on the side that supports Kansas City, that still remains faithful in Kansas City to get the job done and to reach the playoffs. I'm not saying they're going to go all the way and make the Super Bowl again. I just think that they're capable of running the table against teams like the Texans, Chargers, and Broncos and win all those games. So for that reason, I'm going to have them at my number 10 spot. Now coming in at my number 9 spot, I'm going to have the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think I want to bring something up that's pretty interesting about Philadelphia. Their 2 in-house hires at offensive coordinator have been Brian Johnson in 2023 and Kevin Patullo in 2025. Their 2 out-of-house hires have been Shane Steichen and Kellen Moore at offensive coordinator. The 2 years that they have gone to the Super Bowl, it has been because of those out-of-house hires that have gotten the offense to perform at its full potential, which were Shane Steichen in 2022 and Kellen Moore in 2024. The 2 years that the Eagles have fallen apart have been because of in-house hires that were due to Brian Johnson in 2023 and then Kevin Patullo this year in 2025. So I believe that blame has to go to the head coach Nick Sirianni. He has to receive heat for that. Right now, all the heat is on Kevin Patullo. Why do you think Nick Sirianni has not fired Kevin Patullo? Because Patullo is his friend. That is his in-house hire. That was his decision. So right now, Patullo is running Nick Sirianni's offense. And right now, it's not working. So I believe that is a reflection of the head coach, not the offensive coordinator. So that's going to bring up an interesting topic this offseason. Let's say the Eagles completely crash out of the playoffs. They don't even make it, or they do make it, and their first round exits just like they were in 2023. Will the blame finally be shifted onto Nick Sirianni? Will he once again be on the hot seat the way he was to start last year? I believe that's something to look out for. They can very easily lose to the Chargers this weekend on Monday Night Football, despite playing an injured Justin Herbert. That is a game I'm keeping an eye on. If the Eagles lose that game, that'd be 3 in a row. I believe Dallas wins tonight on Thursday Night Football, so now Dallas is an inch closer to them in the standings. It's going to make for a very interesting end of the season. So I'm going to keep Philadelphia at 9 in my top 10. I'm not going to drop them completely out because I still have faith in their defense. However, if their offense does not get back on track this year, there's going to be a lot of questions about Nick Sirianni's job. I believe he will enter next season on the hot seat, and we've seen it from Howie Roseman. He does not play nice with his head coaches. He fired Doug Peterson, who was a Super Bowl winning head coach. He does not care about your reputation, about your pedigree, about what you've done in the past. He wants to know what you will do for him in present day and in the future. He is not afraid of moving off good head coaches. And we don't even know if Sirianni is a great coach. So we're going to see how this season plays out. I believe it could go very south for Nick Sirianni and the Eagles very quickly. So I'm going to keep them at number 9. But next week, they might even be out of my top 10 because I believe it's very possible they lose to the Chargers this weekend on Monday Night Football. And now for my number 8 team. It's going to be the Dallas Cowboys. Like I just talked about with Philadelphia, the sky is falling. This is the perfect opportunity for Dallas to capitalize on that. They play at Detroit. They're 3.5-point underdogs tonight on Thursday Night Football. They have also been 3.5-point underdogs their past 2 games against both the Super Bowl teams from last year, the Chiefs and the Eagles. They won both those games. I give them a very good shot at beating Detroit. I am going to pick them to beat Detroit, which I'll talk about in my picks video, my Week 14 picks, which will release later today. But with that being said, Dallas has looked very impressive. They look like a completely different football team than they did before the Quinnen Williams trade, now after the Quinnen Williams trade. Before the Quinnen Williams trade, they were 3-5-1. They were a horrible defensive team. They couldn't get off the field, and it was all relying on Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's margin of error was very, very slim. Since acquiring Quinnen Williams, they're 3-0. Their defense has significantly improved. They can now stop the run. Their pass defense is obviously still vulnerable. However, their run defense is massively improved, and that was their biggest weakness. So Quinnen Williams has been one of the most impactful additions of the offseason, including George Pickens, who's also been a complete game changer for this offense. So right now, despite their record being 6-5-1, Dallas Cowboys are one of the most dangerous teams in all of football. Nobody wants to play them, and I think they're very capable of running the table like the Chiefs. And it starts this Thursday night at Detroit. That is a huge game that I believe they are capable of winning, but Dak Prescott has to continue playing at an MVP level if they want to win this game. And I believe he can, and I believe he will. So I will be picking Dallas to beat Detroit, and I'm going to have them at my number 8 spot because they just beat the Eagles and they beat the Chiefs, so I'm going to have them ahead of both those teams. Now coming in at my number 7 spot, I'm going to have the Buffalo Bills. They just got a very impressive win against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I was doubting them, and I've done a lot of flip-flopping on the Bills this year. I will admit that initially I was very, very high on them. I said they were going to win the Super Bowl this offseason, and I still think that is possible. And those losses against the Falcons, the Dolphins, the Texans, they all kind of worried me about the Bills, but this win against the Steelers did kind of reinforce my faith in them, that they are still capable of going on a run and winning the Super Bowl. And right now, my mentality with the Bills, and I think this is their mentality too, if not this year, then when? This has to be the year they go all in and have to win it. Because look at the Chiefs, they're 6-6, they're vulnerable. The Ravens are 6-6, they're vulnerable. And really, the Chiefs have been the only team standing in their way of doing this. And right now, the Chiefs might not even be in the playoffs. They have to take advantage of this year. And they're now looking up at the Patriots in the standings, looking up at the Broncos in the standings. They have to capitalize. And it's probably going to require them going on the road this whole entire playoff run because the Patriots are probably most likely going to be the 1 seed. And that Week 15 matchup against the Patriots is going to define their season. How they perform in that game against New England, that game's going to be in Foxborough. Will they show up and will they win? Will Josh Allen declare that he is superior of Drake May? Will he outplay Drake May in a huge game? That is still yet to be seen. I believe that matchup is going to determine how the rest of the year is going to go for Buffalo. If they do win that game, then I will have supreme confidence in them entering the playoffs that they can beat absolutely anyone, whether it's on the road or at home. We've seen what they're capable of on the road and at home, which is just running the football down your throat with James Cook. And right now, James Cook is having one of the most underrated seasons ever. He's been in the shadow of guys like McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Bijan Robinson. He is in that class, yet he's not talked about being in that class. James Cook has been outstanding. They ran the ball with him completely down Pittsburgh's throat. They just kept pounding the rock over and over and over again, and against the Steelers' will. And Buffalo did that without both their starting tackles, so they have multiple ways of winning. They just have to stick to that game plan. If they're going to lean on James Cook, they must do it in very important games. They didn't do that against Houston, even though he had great success running the ball against Houston and forced Josh Allen to play hero ball. The Bills' pathway to success is with James Cook running the football effectively and controlling the clock, controlling time of possession, and their defense making timely plays in timely moments. That is how this Buffalo team is going to succeed come playoff time, and I believe they're capable of doing it. I'm going to keep them at number 7 below the Patriots and Broncos because I just believe that I need to see how they play against the Patriots in order for me to have them above the Patriots once again. But for now, I am going to keep them at my number 7 spot. Now, coming in at my number 6 spot, it's going to be the Chicago Bears. They shocked me on Friday night. I had them covering the spread in Philly, which I thought that number was ridiculous. Plus 7.5 was probably the freest bet of all time. However, I didn't expect them to outright win the game because I didn't think that they were capable of winning a close game like that against a great team. Yet they straight up dominated the game, and that's credit to Ben Johnson. I think right now the scariest part about the Bears is that Caleb Williams hasn't even reached his full potential. He is not playing consistently great. If Caleb Williams reaches a level where he is playing consistently great, he is consistently accurate, then this team is one of the best teams in all of football. Right now, they are winning in spite of Caleb Williams. And right now, all Ben Johnson is asking of him is just make 3 plays a game. And he made 2 of them against the Eagles that were notable. There was a 4th and 6 that Ben Johnson put the ball in his hands and said, make a play. Make the correct read. He did. He had Cole Kmet, or I believe it was Colson Loveland, for a first down on 4th and 6 in a high leverage moment in the game. Then the touchdown pass to Cole Kmet in the 4th quarter was excellent. So Caleb Williams gives you 3 highlight plays a game, but he will also give you a boneheaded interception like he did against Philly, or the fumble that led to a recovery in the end zone for Pittsburgh. So Caleb Williams just needs to find some sort of consistency in order for the Bears to reach the Super Bowl because that is their ceiling. The Bears' entire team is playing at an extremely high level. Dennis Allen has that defense playing at a very high level, creating a ton of turnovers. Jalen Hurts has not turned the ball over yet. They were still able to force 2 turnovers on the Eagles. That's very telling. So Dennis Allen has the defense playing at a high level. Ben Johnson's scheme has the Bears running the ball at one of the best clips in the entire NFL. It all rests on Caleb Williams. The ceiling of this Bears team is dependent on Caleb Williams and whether he can play at a consistently high level. He has not shown that yet, so I cannot have the Bears above teams like the Rams, the Packers, or the Seahawks just yet because I need to see Caleb Williams reach his full potential in order for the Bears to be considered in that class of the NFC. So although the Bears are currently the number 1 seed in the NFC, I don't expect that to continue. I believe they do lose this weekend in Lambeau, and it will be because of Caleb Williams. I still do not trust him in big moments. So that is why I'm going to have the Bears 1 spot behind the Packers. Now for my number 5 team, it is going to be the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love has just been outstanding. I've had my doubts about Jordan Love. I've been a Jordan Love skeptic this year, but right now he has completely proven me wrong time and time again. I've said that I have not trusted Jordan Love in big spots, yet all this year he has done is perform at the highest of levels that he possibly can, and I believe he's being held back by his receiving core. In that Detroit game, his receivers finally showed up for him, but in games past, the drops have been outrageous. Jordan Love has been throwing the ball very accurately down the field, and the Packers are a big play offense, and right now Matt LaFleur finally opened up the playbook once again. There's been times this year when Matt LaFleur has just been limiting Jordan Love to screen passes or short, quick passing plays or inside zones to Josh Jacobs. Finally, Matt LaFleur was like, you know what, screw that. We're just going to throw the ball down the field and showcase Jordan Love's elite arm talent. And they did that against Detroit, and their offense looked spectacular. That is the Packers ceiling right there. That was the Packers at their best against the Lions in a spot where they needed it most. They were 3-point underdogs against the Lions. They went in there and completely dominated the game from start to finish. So if Green Bay can have that type of performance, and I forgot to mention Micah Parsons on the defensive side of the ball, that is what they brought him in for, to have that type of impact on a game. 2.5 sacks, completely destroying the Lions' offensive line. That is what you bring in a guy like Micah Parsons to do, and it's to close games defensively, and that's what he did. And like the Bills, I've done a lot of flip-flopping on the Packers this year. I am a victim to that. And I think right now my take should remain the rest of season that the Packers are going to be either in the NFC divisional round or the NFC championship game. This year has to be the year that they at least make it that far, and they could even reach the Super Bowl because this team is good enough to do that. It is all dependent on whether Jordan Love continues this level of play, and I know the defense is great. Micah Parsons completely raised the ceiling of that defense. They are a top 5 defense in the NFL. They make plays when they need them most, and Micah Parsons is a guy you can depend on to make a huge play in the fourth quarter to flip a game. And if all they need is Jordan Love to play at that level rest of season in order for them to compete for a Super Bowl. And he proved that against the Lions on Thanksgiving. So give credit to Green Bay. They play at home this week against Chicago in what should be one of the games of the year. I am going to lean Green Bay in that matchup because I do trust Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur, who have been in this position before, over a team like Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. I trust right now Jordan Love over Caleb Williams to perform in a big stage. So give me the Packers one spot ahead of Chicago. Now at my number 4 spot, I'm going to have the Seattle Seahawks. They've been one of the most consistent teams all season long. They have always won in dominant fashion against inferior opponents. You got to give them credit for that. My one question is Sam Darnold in big spots. They played the Rams and he threw 4 picks. And they played the Bucks and he threw a late game interception that ended up costing them the game. So Sam Darnold has to show me that he can perform at a very high level in clutch situations. He has not yet in a Seattle uniform. He was pulling out those wins last year in Minnesota, but it turned out to be a blip because when they played the Lions in Week 18, he laid an egg, and when they played the Rams in the wild card round, he also laid an egg. So Sam Darnold is going to have one game against the Rams at home, which will probably decide the division because both teams are 9-3. So we're going to need to see how Sam Darnold plays in that game. But right now, this Seattle roster is probably one of the best top-to-down, best rosters in the NFL. They have a good run game with K9 and Zach Charbonnet. They obviously have the best receiver right now in all of football, which is Jackson Smith-Njigba. And they have an excellent defense. So there's nothing not to like with Seattle except the quarterback play in clutch situations. So that's why I'm going to keep the Seahawks at number 4. I can't have them above the Rams. Now, at my number 3 spot, I'm going to have the Denver Broncos. They got another clutch win on Sunday Night Football against the Commanders. I thought that they were going to come out and win in more dominant fashion. However, honestly, I thought the win was encouraging. Sean Payton said in a post-game press conference that they didn't escape with the win, they just won the game. And they did win the game because in the biggest moments in clutch situations, Denver made all the plays that needed to be made. Bo Nix played great football all game. He had that one bad interception, but overall, I thought he played an outstanding game. He's looking more consistent, and he's looking way better than he did earlier on in the season. This Denver offense is picked up. They finally let R.J. Harvey loose, and he had 2 touchdowns, so that's great for him. I'm glad that the rookie's finally getting his chance to take ownership of the backfield with J.K. Dobbins out to injury. This roster is one of top down, like Seattle, one of the best rosters in all of football. You still have some questions about their quarterback, but I trust Denver's defense to perform at a better level than I do the Seahawks defense. They're both great defenses. I just think Denver's better. So I'm going to have the Broncos at my number 3 spot, 1 spot ahead of Seattle. I believe they are going to host a home playoff game this year. Obviously, I think they're going to win their division, and they're probably going to play a team like Jacksonville or the Colts, and I would heavily favor them at home because I believe Denver's home field advantage is one of the best home field advantages in all of football. So that's why I'm going to have Denver at my number 3 spot. Now coming in at number 2, I almost had this team number 1. I was going to put the New England Patriots at number 1, but right now I just think the Rams, despite the loss to Carolina, I think the Rams are still a great team, and I'm not taking that loss to heart, or I'm not going to completely panic on the Rams just because they lost to the Panthers. The Panthers have been having fluke wins like that all year. So in a game for my life, if it was a Super Bowl and it was the Rams versus Patriots, I would lean Rams because I still trust Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford over right now Drake May and Mike Vrabel. And that's no diss at Mike Vrabel and Drake May. They're probably one of the best quarterback head coach duos right now in the NFL. I had picked the Patriots to get upset by the Giants on Monday Night Football, and they completely crushed the Giants early on. And I thought that they would come out flat, knowing that their bye week was the following week, and the Giants would catch them on their toes. However, I was completely wrong. The Patriots are really, really buttoned up. This just gives me the vibe of the old Patriots, and that's credit to Mike Vrabel for completely changing that culture in New England. They are just playing outstanding football. They are locked in. They do not lose focus against inferior opponents. Everyone points to the easy schedule. Look at the Rams. They just lost to the Panthers. There have been many, many great teams this year that have lost to inferior opponents because they just simply lack focus, they lack concentration, and they don't take their opponents seriously. New England is stomping on the inferior opponents week to week. They're absolutely killing them. And that's credit to Vrabel, that's credit to Drake May. He's playing at an MVP level right now, and it's without a doubt right now the Rams and Patriots are the 2 best teams in football, and they're most likely to get the number 1 seeds in their conferences to have home field advantage. And right now Drake May is playing better than any quarterback in the AFC, so you got to give New England credit. We're going to really find out who they are the next 2 weeks. They have their bye week this week, but following their bye week they play the Bills and the Ravens, and we're going to really find out how they play against top tier competition because everyone's been pointing to the easy schedule saying they're fraudulent. Well, now they're going to play Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen in back-to-back weeks. Let's see how they perform in those 2 games, but right now they without a doubt look like the best team in the AFC. So that's why I'm going to have them at number 2. Now coming in at number 1, I'm going to maintain the Los Angeles Rams. I'm not going to move them down despite the loss to the Panthers. I do believe it was just a slip-up. All great teams have this type of slip-up late in the season. And honestly, I think it's better that the Rams lost this game than won it because it kind of snapped them back into reality. They were riding a huge win streak. Now they're going to lock in and take their opponents way more seriously. I believe this week I'm not entirely sure who they play, but I'm sure that Matt Stafford and Sean McVay are going to bounce back. Matt Stafford had 3 turnovers. That's very uncharacteristic. They're probably going to look back on the film, correct some things. I still think that Matthew Stafford will win MVP this year. He's playing at a great level. He just had a game filled with turnovers. That's uncharacteristic. That probably will not happen again. So I do trust the Rams late in the season to get some wins and to probably secure the number 1 seed in the NFC. So I have no doubt that the Rams will reach the Super Bowl. I don't know about win it because I did have the Bills beating them in the Super Bowl. They have looked vulnerable in certain spots, but right now I still believe the Rams are the best team in all of football because Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay are the best head coach quarterback duo in the NFC, so I expect them to win their conference. And that is going to be it for this video, and I will see you guys next time for when I release my Week 14 picks, which should be later today.